Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening or morning to you from whichever part of the world you've joined. My name is Iram and I welcome you to iCare's first ever Baithak session. A space that we've designed to sort of share knowledge and build connections. Today we're together to exchange insights, strengthen the bridge between donors and charities so that, from the donors' end to deepen their knowledge about the fantastic work that different charities are doing in the development sector in Pakistan, and also for donors to have deeper knowledge of where they can possibly choose to give when they're deciding their giving. Touching upon the structure of the event today, we will start by iCare taking the floor first with our CEO, Wasik Ismail, and our country director, Syed Hassan Ali, presenting. This will be followed by the first partner charity, Teach the World Foundation, whose presentation will be conducted by their CEO and founder, Mr. Shafiq Khan. And then we will hear about the impactful work Darul Sukoon is doing, and their presentation will be given by their CEO, Mr. Savio Pereira. During the webinar, you will notice that your mics will remain on mute. However, I would really encourage you to keep your cameras on so that the session remains interactive. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to jot them down or to drop them in the chat box here. We will be addressing all the questions at the end when we open the floor for questions and answers. We'll be taking a series of polls during the presentation. You can scan the code that will appear on your screen or click on the link that's there in the chat box so that you answer the questions as they pop up. Again, during the webinar, the mics will remain off. So if you wish to say something, the chat box should be where you can put down your comment or question. Over to you, Wasik.
Thank you very much, Iram. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So, yes. Please turn on the camera and...
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Iram. And, it's really a pleasure for this first of its kind event that iCare is organizing today. And to be honest, we are actually here to learn from both our donors and partners as well. But we'd love to talk a little about, the role that iCare plays in this whole ecosystem. So just to make things interactive, as my colleague Iram was mentioning, that please make sure that you log in or scan this QR code so that we can actually, make it interactive for the surveys that we will be doing throughout the presentation. And there are only a couple.
Can you please turn on your camera?
Your camera is turned off, so if you could turn it on.
Can you not see the presentation or can you not see me?
We can't see you.
Oh, wait. I'm actually... How about now?
No.
He still can't see you.
Okay, I'm signed in from another device, so let's figure out this technology later. I mean, it's more important that you can actually see the presentation right now, which I believe everyone can, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so as I was saying, that it will be very nice, very helpful if we can all, log into that QR code so that we can make it more interactive. So anyway, coming back to the presentation, my name is Wasik. I'm the CEO for iCare Foundation at iCare Fund America. We are really an organization which was founded more than 10 years ago by our late founding chairman, Farouk Captain, with the idea to basically harness the philanthropic capital which is scattered all around the world to address some key development challenges that Pakistan is facing today. Pakistan, has been grappling with its own structural issues, a highly politicized context, which has perpetuated poverty and inequality over the past many decades. And, that has given rise to a myriad of development challenges, which we all grapple to prioritize and try to understand, which is the most important one, and, how to navigate the complex regulatory and political landscape around it, so that this philanthropic capital can actually reach the the most deserving organizations that we work with. Now, every donor has his or her own motivation to donate to projects and to work with organizations in Pakistan. And there are no right or wrong answers there. And, there could be many options. But just to get a sense of, the audience today, and just to get a sense of, what really motivates you to work with these nonprofits in Pakistan, we'll just start off with a brief survey, which you will be seeing on your screen very shortly. All right, can everyone see this?
Vasek, can you please slideshow more that because
Yeah, slideshow more.
My apologies. I just remembered we had to do the entire screen instead of the.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies. Can everyone see the slideshow now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. Once again, apologies for that. Now, can you see a survey on your screen right now?
Yes.
Perfect. So all of those who have actually clicked on that link, they should be able to see the survey on their phones now. So I would say let's take about 30 seconds to quickly let us know what really motivates you to donate to projects in Pakistan. So we'll be able to see the live results. And once again, there are no right or wrong answers. I mean, these are just 4 options. And for those who can't read these options, I'm just going to read them out. First is that I want to address the most critical challenges of Pakistan. Second is that I want to support the community I'm from. Third, I want to address a cause that had affected my family. This could be anything, could be a disease, could be, be a number of things. Fourth, I want to avail tax benefit in the US while helping people in Pakistan. All right, perfect. So really glad to see that that a majority of the people who want to work in Pakistan are cognizant of the development challenges that Pakistan faces today. And as we can see from this poll as well, that most of the people are motivated by those critical development issues that Pakistan faces today. Which brings me to my next slide, and we'll just to give you a snapshot of those perpetuated problems that we were talking about earlier. Here are some of the highlights, because we work in 6 to 7 different sectors in Pakistan, which include health, education, livelihood, social protection, climate change. And we work in these sectors because these sectors have been identified by both the public sector, by donors, by our end recipients, beneficiaries, as some of the most critical problems that Pakistan faces today. Human capital, which is the bedrock or the foundation of Pakistan's human capital export, is a function of education. And as you can see, the first glaring problem that Pakistan faces today is that 44% of the school age going children remain out of school. That's where organizations like Teach for Pakistan and many other education organizations come in, and we'll be glad to hear from our colleagues working over there as well. Similarly, while Pakistan meets the basic WHO requirement of having 1 doctor per 1,000 patients, but it is still this problem is still perpetuated by long-standing infrastructural challenges, the lack of hospitals, the lack of specialized care, the lack of lab testing, you name it. There's a whole array of medical issues that remain unaddressed for people in Pakistan, and this problem gets more pronounced for people living under the poverty line, which makes up a good percentage of the population in Pakistan as well. Similarly, one more key area that we work in is the inclusion of people with disabilities. This, for the longest time in Pakistan, there was no recognition of these people. Until 2017, the public data suggested that only 0.5% of the population is living with a disability, which was a grossly underestimated number. Thankfully, in the latest census of Pakistan in 2023, the government recognized that there's at least 10% of the population which is living with disabilities, right? So that's the first step, to recognize that there are actually people living with disabilities, but still there's a long way to go in addressing the challenges faced by those people. And as you can see that, only 5% of those people, which 10% of the population is about 2.5, is about 25 million people. Only 5% of them actually have access to inclusive education or employment. Similarly, climate change, which has become a huge issue, not just globally, but also for countries like Pakistan, which get disproportionately affected by climate-induced disasters, as we saw in the 2022 floods, which inflicted a damage of upwards of $30 billion to Pakistan, displacing millions of people in the process as well. And it takes years and even decades to actually restore the livelihoods and fully rehabilitate those people, because we still have people from from the 2011 floods who have not been fully rehabilitated, and now yet here we are again faced by another challenge. Now, what does that mean? What do these development challenges mean in quantifiable numbers? Because we're talking about philanthropic capital here, right? We know that, as I earlier briefly touched upon it, that Pakistan faces its own structural issues. There's inadequate public funding to address these gaps in these critical sectors, which has been perpetuating poverty and inequality over the past so many decades. Now, what does that mean if you translate that into numbers? That what could potentially be the development challenge or the development gap in Pakistan, and what kind of money we would be needing to actually address all of these issues. Which brings me to another survey, and let's make it a little more engaging. And I'm going to solicit some responses from the audience once again on what do they understand is the current gap right now. So you'll see another survey on your screen, or a poll. So here the question is that the critical sectors of health, education, social protection, livelihoods, climate change in Pakistan are the ones which are suffering the most due to these the problems that we talked about. What do you think is the gap or the funding need to fulfill these challenges from all these critical sectors? So let's give it a few seconds, and if you could please cast your vote using the same link. The survey should have automatically updated on your phones if you've already logged in using the link or the QR code. All right, that's interesting. Also interesting to know that some people think there is no gap. Okay. Yeah, so we have the options once again for those who can't read. There is no gap. There's a gap of $1 billion. There's a gap of $20 billion. And there's a gap of $200 billion. Okay, we have about 10 votes. Maybe let's give it a few more seconds. 11 votes. Okay. So a majority voted for $200 billion, which is quite high actually. It's close to the GDP of Pakistan. I hope we never get to the point where the funding gap is $200 billion. But the right answer is $20 billion. Sorry. It's $20 billion. And we have a sector-wise breakdown of that as well. And this is the annual gap that we're talking about, right? We're not talking like $20 billion to solve all problems of Pakistan. This is just an annual gap. As you can see, health, education, these 3.6 billion, 5.6 billion. I believe in health, we spend 1% of our GDP, which is below the recommended health expenditure by WHO, which recommends about 5 to 6% of the GDP of a country should go into the health sector. UNICEF suggests the same percentage for education as well. I believe we are at 2.5 to 3% of our GDP that we spend on education, which of course results in the gaps that we earlier talked about in the earlier slides. That more than 26 million school-going age children remain out of school as a result of that. So all of these add up to $20 billion annual remittance that we all, because we are talking to primarily to the Pakistani diaspora residing overseas. We send $34 billion every year to Pakistan, which includes everything. And about 680 million out of that is the philanthropic capital that comes into Pakistan. What does that translate into? Are we really moving the needle? The philanthropic capital's share in addressing these critical gaps in Pakistan's critical sectors is only 3.4%, which is a glaring figure, which tells us that not only do we need to broaden our base of support to these sectors in Pakistan, but we also need to scale up our existing philanthropic capital that goes into Pakistan. That's where iCare comes in. And iCare is proud to take on the role of being a steward of this philanthropic capital, working with worthy charities, more than 100 in Pakistan. And that's where the equation becomes more complicated and more challenging. How do we address all of these gaps in a more effective and efficient way? And when things get challenging, I hand over things to my colleague Hassan, and that's what I'm going to do now as well. He will take over the presentation and walk you through the role of iCare in Pakistan and globally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vasik. So as Vasik mentioned that, so iCare's role basically, in terms of, when Vasik said that there is a gap, when donors are trying to, the challenge is that where should they give their funding to? Who is the credible organization there, and how can they, effectively give donations to Pakistan? So charities often struggle with complexities in terms of having a legal structure, legal entity in countries outside of Pakistan, and so what iCare does is iCare provides access of funding to charitable organizations, which they won't be able to have that without iCare. Moving on to the next slide. So basically, we are bridging the gap in terms of connecting global donors with vetted Pakistani charities, and ensuring transparency, efficiency, and impact in charitable giving, and also providing donors with confidence that their contributions reach credible, high impact organizations. Next slide, please. So I'm just trying to quickly, go over the slide, in terms of, our structure. Go back to. So in terms of structure, so we have two entities. One is iCare Fund America, which is a 501c3 organization registered in the US, and the other one is iCare Foundation, which is a non-profit entity registered in Pakistan. So donors globally donate to iCare Fund America, and they get an instant receipt for their donations, and those funds are remitted to Pakistan, to iCare Foundation, and iCare Foundation takes the responsibility of onboarding of charities in terms of doing due diligence, and also disbursing funds to our partner charities, and also ensuring that those funds are being utilized as per the donor advice and as per what those funds were supposed to be spent on. and provide reporting to iCare Fund America and also to the donors. Next slide, please. So let's come to, let's talk about in terms of, why donors should choose iCare to make their donations. So number one is that we provide donors sitting anywhere in the world basically can donate to any of our partner organizations through our platform. And they will be donating to, like I said, a bona fide 501c3 organization registered in the US. And for that, donors living who are sort of taxpayers of the US, they can also receive a tax deductible receipt, which is like a huge advantage for US based donors. And on our platform, they can donate to multiple charities in a single transaction. And when it comes to payment methods, we have all kinds of payment methods, including credit card, debit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, ACH transfer, and for donors who prefer traditional methods, checks and wire transfer is also available. Going to the next slide. So the other part is okay. So when we onboard any partner organization, so we do a thorough due diligence process in which we ensure that organization that we are onboarding is equivalent to a public charity in the US, which means we go through their documents, the registration documents, the audit accounts, and their exemptions and all those things to ensure that everything is in place before onboarding that organization. Once they are onboarded, when funds are disbursed to those organizations, these organizations are required to complete documentation in terms of providing us fund utilization plans in terms of how these funds will be utilized, and we also report back to the donors in terms of how those funds were utilized. So when it comes to thought leadership, I mean, iCare is in this space where we are partners with more than 130 charitable organizations. So we have that view in terms of, like, if you say 35,000 feet view of things, what is happening. I mean, we are talking to all these charitable organizations on a daily basis. So we know in terms of governance, in terms of program design, in terms of challenges that are being faced. So we have that visibility, and we help our some of the smaller organizations in terms of their governance structures, and also in terms of their enhancing the fundraising abilities and all. When it comes to creating collaboration, so because we have that visibility, so it helps whenever we see an opportunity where a collaboration can be done, any synergy can be established. So we sort of we do that. Like, for example, in the 2022 floods, we were able to do a collaborative project between some of our partner organizations, and we were able to secure a grant. And because we had that visibility, what are the strengths of which organization, so we were able to make that collaboration possible. Moving on to the next slide. Okay. When it comes to services, so first of all, advisory. I mean, in terms of whatever the threshold of the donor is, we keep on advising our donors in terms of what are the good work happening in Pakistan, and if donors want to sort of have like personalized advisory services, so we also give them advice based on whatever their giving palette is. If they want to create some sort of a fund in which maybe establishing an endowment fund, or maybe a flexible fund which we can probably manage in terms of investing it and returns, or maybe principal or profit, or whatever the arrangement is can be. We can also we provide this facility to our donors also. And the last part is the legacy giving, in terms of if anyone wants to establish a legacy fund, so they can also do that with iCare. Moving on to the next slide, please. Okay, so quickly, I mean, I'm running out of time. So just to let you know, this is how the structure of iCare Fund America and iCare Foundation is. So governed by two independent boards and the CEO, and we are audited by reputable auditors in Pakistan and also in the US. And we have a proper team in terms of programs and donor engagement and finance and also communication and culture. So we have team here in Pakistan who is supporting all the functions and also supporting iCare Fund America operations. I think that's from my side. Probably this is the last slide, right? Can we move forward? Okay, so thank you so much. I know I had to rush the last few slides, but let's move on this side of our partner organization, Teach the World Foundation.
Yeah, we'll now be over to you, Shafiq Saab. We will be starting your presentation. So yeah, can we go to the...
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Ready?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's evening for us in Karachi, and it's wonderful to be with you. And frankly, I am very impressed with the iCare approach and what you guys are trying to do. And inshallah, this is going to provide tremendous value to Pakistan and to wherever else we operate. Thank you. So let's fly through this because I'm fairly sure that the topic I have, I will not be able to cover adequately in 20 minutes. So I'll give you the high-level details on this. The two of us, the founders of Teach the World, we're both former corporate executives who quit our positions because there was a time when we realized that our greatest value was no longer in making money for corporations, but actually using our backgrounds for social good. And Imran is still on the MIT faculty. In my case, I'm pretty much 100% Teach the World. So let's move on. Next slide. So what did we sign up for? We basically have had very good track records, and to some degree you could argue that made us a little more aggressive in what we wanted to do. So we named ourselves Teach the World because we're not thinking small. And also, as we found out, the Pakistan problem is a massive, massive problem. 28 million children out of school, that's the highest in the world. The number that we shared a little while ago is 26 million. That's only from 1 year before. And within a year, it's moved to 28. And frankly, that's what's happening right now. In school, do really badly, but the access problem is the biggest problem. 28 million children out of school now, heading to 50 million in a decade. And yes, sure, there's no accountability in general. Let's move on. Next slide. So what has that done to us? Sadly, it's made us the laggard nation of Southeast Asia. We actually used to be at the top, neck and neck with Sri Lanka 50 years ago. And since then, we are now a distant fourth, right? If you think about Sri Lanka and us, not quite 3 times better, but certainly more than twice. And India, Bangladesh, all of them. And while we don't claim that the only reason for this is education, but we all know, I think all of us here are probably examples of having benefited from education and that having had an impact on us. So there's zero question in our mind that this is a key crisis situation. Next slide, please. Well, when you have a situation this bad, then the question of how do you fix it? And clearly, you also know that status quo can't be the option. If you have 1 million teachers short, it takes a long time. It takes 20 years to develop a teacher. if we short 100,000 schools today, this would mean dozen plus schools every day it's not going to happen. And so the out of school situation is alarming for another reason. If somebody is out of school at the age of 5, they are really, there's a 50% chance of them being illiterate forever, given that our literacy rate in the country is 60%, roughly. But if they're not in school at the age of 10, you might as well forget it. They're not admitted to any school. They're not able to go to get an education anywhere other than in some model that allows them to get in. Otherwise, a 10-year-old isn't allowed into a 5-year-old's class, right? So there's almost 100% chance. So if our thing was, there's no question of really going with the status quo. In fact, the status quo is what has got us here. So we can't deal with that. And we must go with in a crisis mode. So that's what we're doing here. Next slide, please. Next slide. So this is really, we start with the bad news, but there is good news. We do have a solution. It's powered by digital. So we've seen enough, all of us have seen what digital has done to our lives and how it's exponentially enhancing pretty much anything that it touches. And in our case, it's e-learning with tablets and smartphones. And the secret sauce for us is games, because learning is a function of engagement. There is very little that engages people more than games. And so that is our key point. Next slide, please. So, I could talk about this, and it might take me some time to explain things. We all know that visually it would be best if we could show you what we did. So let's do that here. Our concept is actually fairly simple. Every Teach the World child that we are educating gets their own tablet, and it is delivered in a format that is gamified so that it is engaging and so that it motivates the child to make their best effort.
Teach the World is a radically new and creative approach to literacy for kids in the developing world, harnessing the power of new technologies.
So one of the first things we decided we would do is to create our own evidence that this concept works. We went to a community in a depressed area of Karachi, recruited 22 children who meet the United Nations definition of out-of-school kids. These are kids who have never been to school, ever. Had them come into a classroom. A1 started to teach them on tablets.
When these children came, letters of the alphabet, numbers, colors, everything was new to them. They were not familiar with anything. They were taught only how to open and shut the tablet. They were mesmerized by what they were learning.
One of the little girls we had is a girl called Iram. When we did her pretest, she, in some ways, flunked completely, but in another way, she passed the test royally because we wanted to get kids who knew nothing.
It took her, I would say, more than 6 weeks, Iram, to show progress. But after 6 weeks, it was like magic. She started to tell me numbers. She started to sing nursery rhymes. It was just like one day I heard somebody singing. One day I heard somebody singing.
I think there's a bit of an internet glitch. Just give us 1 second, please.
And it was just like one day. I heard somebody singing.
I think we should. Was it not saved?
It was played. I think there's an internet issue due to which it's not playing.
Yeah.
Just, we're trying one more time.
It might help if a few of us closed our cameras for a bit.
Sing nursery rhymes. It was just like one day. I heard somebody singing.
Okay.
Okay. Where should we move on with the presentation?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think we're probably better off doing that.
Yeah.
But at this point, one of the things we could do is send the video to anybody who wants to watch it, because it really does make a difference to see what we're doing live and see the impact.
Okay.
But go ahead, let's do that. All right, so, obviously everybody would wonder, so we're teaching kids with games and so on, what are the results? Since anybody who makes games really does this as a business, they make sure that the design is such that it really engages the child. In our case, we find that the fact that there's this massive engagement for the child, they very quickly, and these are now usually results from 90 days from the start against a control group that started exactly the same time. And on average, our kids perform 1.5 to 3 times better when they learn through this method versus the traditional methods. Right? Next slide, please. So once you've tested the concept and said this works, how do you deploy it? In our case, there are multiple models. We'll speak a little bit about them. But the most important reason we want to use this model is the out-of-school kids. For them, the thing that we've come up with is a digital micro school. This is a school that we take to the child, to the communities where there is need, because there are very large amounts of out-of-school children. And one of the things that's happening in Pakistan right now is there's massive migration from rural to urban areas, which is creating what are called Kachi Abadis, which are in a way temporary settlements, but they're not temporary because they've been around for 30 years. And so you have to build a school there, because building a school somewhere else, 3 years, $300,000 and so on, it's just not going to happen. So we go in and we right away don't build, we rent. We rent a room in this community itself for a very small amount of money, and end up basically, this room is our digital classroom. We hire 2 facilitators from the community. It's always working with the community that we do this. Equip it immediately with solar, so you've got power all the time. A hotspot. Bring in 25 tablets with games on them. Again, on the left, you can see what apps we're using and what software. This is the world-class. In fact, the top one is Footsteps for Billions in English, the best in the world. And then below it are some of the X-Prize winners. These are now major competitions that happen globally. And so we use software for the winners. We don't try to make it ourselves. We just don't want to be in that business and don't think we are qualified to. So this is how it works. And what happens is that we get 25 kids in for 2 hours a day, teach them what we call the critical core: learning to read, learning to write, and learning to do math, all at the early childhood level, going up to 5th grade max. We haven't had enough history to get to 5th grade for most of these kids, but that's the objective, getting them to be functionally literate. And from a single room in almost no time, which, I mean, this room and this classroom can be, micro school can be established in as little as 8 to 10 weeks from the ground up. And we educate 100 kids. We operate clusters of 5, so right away you have 500 kids in a community of maybe 8,000 that has a lot of out-of-school kids, and we get them. So that's our flagship model. Next slide, please. Yeah, we have other models. I mean, this is the digital micro school is largely an access solution, and we have it again largely for the out-of-school problems. But we also have an in-school program, and this is to teach English and math, especially because in most of the places where we operate, these are slums. These are very impoverished areas. They're not going to get good English teachers. It doesn't happen. They don't get math teachers. And we think those are the two of the critical things, as we've said before, they're part of the critical core. And so we actually have a quality program too. And we have, that's not our biggest focus, but we have programs like that with organizations like the CARE Foundation in Lahore, which has 900 schools. And we are scaling this, but as a second priority. And then we have a smartphone program in pilot mode. Don't want to talk about it very much right now, just because we think it's in pilot mode and we'll have a lot of learning. But we think potentially it has probably the most potential of any, because the smartphone is such a universal device. Next slide, please. Cost effectiveness, I mean, it's all relative, but on average, we're able to set up these schools for somewhere between $12,000 to $15,000 at the launch, and then run them for about $12,000 a year, most of the time until we have to change the tablets. But by and large, that runs out to 120 to 140 per child every year, which those of us who live in the US, I mean, you know what the average cost of a child is. So again, massively economic, obviously still not doing as much as one would like to, but they allow us the ability to scale very, very quickly. Next slide, please. So this is sort of, now, what business are we in? We are really in the business of having now tested it well, having had similar success across 3 geographies. We operate in 3 countries, actually, Pakistan being the biggest by far, but then also in Bangladesh and also in Malawi, same results. We're doing the micro schools in a big fashion. Fortunately, we've had really good last year and the year before. In the last 18 months, we launched 125 schools for the Sindh government. And I mean, this is all in slums where there wouldn't have been a school. Now we're commissioned for this year and the next year for about 200 schools and counting. In fact, the Sindh government has been fabulous in this. And the main limitation here is our own ability to scale fast enough. So we've gotten a lot of latitude from them, but we'll be opening these 200 if we can. In a year, we'll do it. We've proven already that we were able to do 125 in 18 months without knowing how to do it. Now that we know more, we can scale faster. So inshallah, that is going to be our biggest focus. Scalability is the biggest focus. Obviously, cost effectiveness, you've seen already. That happens in these environments. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is very gratifying for us. So, we participate from time to time in especially MIT is one of the bigger ones that does a lot of competitions. Solve is one of them. There's MIT Leap. There's MIT now a capstone project. We've been very fortunate in winning at MIT often. The UNESCO award is actually a COVID award. This was UNESCO Harvard. We forgot to put Harvard there, but it's we were the best COVID response with the digital micro school, but also the digital platform, right? That you could, and the smartphone program. All of these were a combination that won this award. We've also won the World Bank Ideas for Action Award. Out of 4,000 entries, we were the only one in education, the only winner in education. And then we had recognition, coverage from Forbes, so on and so forth. But by and large, we feel very gratified about that. Next slide, please. So when I talk about this, the thing is, we're, on the one hand, we're in the business of education, but when you look at what is happening in these areas with these out-of-school kids, you're actually talking about changing life trajectories. When you look at a child of 8 who's not going to be in school, and then at 18 is going to be an illiterate adult, you're going to see a trajectory that's at best a trajectory of deprivation, a life of deprivation, despair. At worst, potentially a life of crime, which again, Karachi is really a good example of that right now. And this child, Sohail, it's a beautiful story. 12-year-old, no parent, not at school, got into our school, working for his uncle, running a mechanic shop, and this kid began to learn. He's next door to us. He began to learn math. Before long, he began to help his uncle with accounting. His uncle was illiterate too. And all of a sudden, this kid is now on track to be an accountant and wants to be one. And his entire life and his attitude to life, his confidence level has changed as a result. And at this point, I mean, this is a beautiful story for us because we've now transitioned him to a full regular school, and he's in 6th grade at this point. And inshallah, he will be an accountant. Let's move to the next one. Next slide. This is, I think before. So this is another story. And this is a girl who actually just accidentally through serendipity ended up being part of our first digital micro school. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't read anything, write anything, and so on. And it's hard to believe that she's now one of our facilitators. She learned enough on the fly to be able to manage this school that we have, where you don't have to be an instructor, so that lack of knowledge doesn't hurt, but you have to be able to make sure the tablets work, you charge them appropriately, you keep the place in good shape, and manage the children, and so on. So she was doing that beautifully, at the same time spending one shift just learning. And today she's now off to the races by the grace of God. And it's a complete transformation because I saw her at the beginning, I see her now, and it's hard to believe this is the same person. So, alhamdulillah, everybody has a story, and these are really fascinating stories, and this is what we are trying to create. We are really trying to create new life trajectories, and that's where we need everybody and their brother, frankly, to help us. So it's pretty much where we are.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shafiq Saab. That was very insightful. For all those who wish to see the video, I've also put a link in the chat, and we will also be emailing it to you after the session. So everybody will get a chance to that. Apologies for the glitch. I think there was a little bit of an internet issue on our end. We will now be moving to the next.
I need a grade now. My grade is only on. Did we make it in 20 minutes, or did we not?
Just about a minute up, but yeah, we definitely made
Oh,
it.
I apologize. I beg you.
No, thank you so much. We're moving
you.
on to the next partner. So, Savio, over to you. Would you want us to play the video first?
Thank you very much. I think we start with maybe if you can play the video. The video has only an Urdu version. I'm sorry, but we are not able to get it in time. But if you can play the video, and then I'll explain
Sure.
with the presentation
Sure.
later on. Thank you.
कहते हैं ये सब जगह नहीं जा सकते। जिस औलाद को अपने खून से सींचा, आज उसके घर में इनके लिए जगह ही नहीं। जो अपने वक्त के फैसला साज थे, आज उनकी जिंदगी का फैसला औलाद ने कर दिया। छत एक, लेकिन जिंदगी की धूप में झुलसते एहसास मुख्तलिफ। और इन तमाम दुखी दिलों का सिर्फ एक साइबान, दारुल सुकून, जहां जख्मों को मरहम मिलता है और दिलों को करार। 56 साल बीत गए। इस साइबान ने अपनी छांव में न जाने कितने ज़हनी और जिस्मानी मासूर बच्चों और बुजुर्ग अफराद को पनाह दे रखी है। दारुल सुकून अपने तमाम ही बासियों को सेहत और रिहाइश की बेहतरीन सहूलियात फराहम कर रहा है। दारुल सुकून के अहाते में मौजूद क्लिनिक में डॉक्टर्स, नर्सें और पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ 24 घंटे ड्यूटी पर मामूर। ऑक्सीजन की फराहमी हो या मॉनिटरिंग, गर्ज ये क्लिनिक सेहत मरकज की तमाम बुनियादी सहूलियात से लैस है। दारुल सुकून खुसूसी बच्चों और बुजुर्गों के लिए किसी घर से कम नहीं। यहाँ पीर से हफ्ते मुख्तलिफ सरगर्मियाँ इन्हें मसरूफ रखती हैं, जिसमें स्पीच थेरेपी, फिजियोथेरेपी, किंडरगार्टन के लेसन्स, खुसूसी तालीम, आर्ट्स और मौसीकी की क्लासेस शामिल हैं। दारुल सुकून बच्चों के मरकज में कोई फीस नहीं और दारुल सुकून में फराहम की जाने वाली इन तमाम खिदमात का इन्हिसार सिर्फ और सिर्फ आपकी ज़कात और अतियात पर है। ये जिंदगी की टेबल है। अपनी नेमतों में उन्हें हिस्सेदार जरूर बनाएं, जिनका हिस्सा खुद कुदरत ने आपके जिम्मे रखा है। दारुल सुकून में आपकी ज़कात और अतियात इन अकाउंट्स में जमा करवाए जा सकते हैं।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। मेरा नाम उज़ैर बिलवानी है और मैंने अपनी तालीम जामिया दारुल उलूम कराची से हासिल की है। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह पिछले कई अरसे से मैं दारुल सुकून के साथ बतौर शरिया एडवाइज़र वाबस्ता हूँ। दारुल सुकून ज़कात शरीयत के मुताबिक वसूल करता है और शरीयत के मुताबिक ही खर्च करता है। लिहाजा जो शख्स और इदारा दारुल सुकून को ज़कात देगा, उसकी ज़कात अदा हो जाएगी। आइए बढ़ चढ़ कर इस रमज़ान दारुल सुकून का साथ दें। व आखिरु दावाना अनिल हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन।
That was a video which was made specifically for zakat, for our zakat campaign. So if we move on to our slide. Darul Sukoon originated as a center for physically and mentally challenged people in the year 1969. So it's been a good 57 years. By Sister Gertrude Lemons. She was a Dutch nun who came here and set up this institute initially with just 10 children. And it was that time when Abdul Sattar Eidi was setting up his home for the physically, or rather the shelter homes for the orphans. So when there were children with disabilities or with any type of deformity, so Sister Gertrude would offer, and they got along, and he would send those children with certain disabilities. So on Kashmir Road, which is our head office today, she started off with 10 children in a bungalow. Today, it is a sprawling campus with around 325 residents. It was organized basically right now. If you can go back to the previous slide. Yeah.
We are an organization which deals with cross-functional disabilities, providing by the word cross-functional I mean we have all types of disabilities from microcephalics, like the first slide with Sayyid Hassan had shown. That picture was of boy Ayan. He's a microcephalic, so we have microcephalics, we have cerebral palsy, we have autism, we have Down syndrome, we have blind, and we have also have deaf and mute children. So overall, we started off. We are the only facility right now in Pakistan which offers 24/7 residential and lifelong services. When I mean residential, these children are here with us since the time they come to us till their death. So there are instances where we even, in fact, we do perform the last rites, the burial services according to their religions. There are Hindus, there are Muslims. Mostly 99% of our residents are belong to the Muslim faith. We've also set up in 2015 an old age home in on Emigena Road. So I'll show you the pictures of those, where we have 120 residents. Then, with the help of iCare and the Rashid Memorial Welfare Organization, we had set up this place at Rashidabad, again a facility. So it serves four centers in Sindh, out of which three are in Karachi and one is in Tandwala Yar. The next slide, please. Our vision, we envision a society where all persons with disabilities get preferential status in access to healthcare, education. Our mission is to work for persons with disabilities, the vulnerable people, and also the golden ages. Our core values are quality care, diversity, awareness, and also reverence. Next slide. Next slide. Like I mentioned before, the following are our services: 24/7 lifelong residential facility. We have an in-house mini clinic set up in all our three locations. A small pharmacy registered with DRAP, a specialized diet and food. We have a nutritionist, uh, hospitalization of residents. Now, all residents, whenever they need hospitalization, we take them to the best of hospitals. AKUH is one of them. And the best part about AKUH and any other hospital where we go, we walk in because of our networking and long-standing reputation. Wherever we take them, the medical physician, the what do you say, the OPD charges, the consultation charges are not taken from them. And even when they are admitted in hospitals, the through zakat and through rebates, through zakat we get an 80% discount at the AKUH. So here we are really blessed with good people that we work with. In our residence, we have counseling sessions, we have psychologists, we have physiotherapists available. We also have speech therapy, occupational therapy. There's a basic literacy program also going on, and there is special education, what you call remedial therapy. And all our residents are also taking out for activities, outings. Our children taken to Kinjar Lake. They will also see. I think Hassan and Iram recently came, and I think it was the first visit. Iram has, she had mentioned that we have a lot of people who come and volunteer. So we have MOU signed with a lot of organizations like medical universities, where the students come in and give time, and they volunteer their services in our facilities. Music classes, like I said, burial and burial services. There are many instances where where the parents, because the children are in the state where they don't share that they have a disability and they've been with us for so many years. When the child or the resident dies, even the burial is done by us, and some of them don't come for their to even जिसे कहते हैं शिरकत करने. We have a small ambulance service where we run, where our residents are taken for emergency needs. Plus, there are many awareness seminars that are taking place, and we have an in-house seminar hall where doctors, physiotherapists have their sessions. And then we celebrate important United Nations days like the World TB Day and World Disability Day. And we take our residents to many outings. Like recently, they were taken by for a city tour. Now an outing for a senior citizen or a special child is a once in a lifetime, and they really cherish these outings. So recently, the Sindh Tourism Development Corporation took all our residents for a city tour of Karachi. They were taken to Kinjar Jeel where they got a boat ride. So that's how they are kept engaged in these activities. Uh, in Darul Sukoon, it is a 24/7. That means these 320 these residents are here with us full time. Only during Eid or during other occasions, some of the parents would come and take their children back home. But otherwise, they are with us, and we are their parents. Bonnie is here also with me, and he would vouch that all these children, they are like our own, and especially the ones with cerebral palsy. They're on their beds. All we do is to give them a better quality of life. The parents who are probably unable to afford take care of a disabled child at home would give them in our custody, and we try our best to to sort of give them that quality of life which they cannot get at home. Uh, our residents are mostly belong to the lower middle class, rather the lower class, those people who can't afford to have a diaper changed 4 times a day, who can't give a proper meal to that child, or who can't give a square meal. So we take care of these needs, their hospitalization, because a certain percentage of our population, especially what you said with disability, a poor man having a disability or poor man having a child with disability is that child can be forgotten, so he is sort of a ghost in the house. So that is what we do is when these children are given into our custody, we are the ones who are their guardians, and we try our best to keep up the services all that they have mentioned out here. We get help through annually through our annual zakat campaign, online donations. A lot of people also give us donation in kind, and then we have a lot of international donors through the Eye Care Foundation. They have been giving us for the past many years, and a lot of people in the country, in the city, especially Karachi. We've had a good inflow. We've survived totally on donations, and we really need all the help because none of the services out here are charged. We get help from the Sindh government, and Sindh government is very supportive to us in answering any of our calls. We make appeals to them. They have been increasing our budget, as you can see on the screen here. The we've just categorized our cost. This is the per year cost per child. So per child or per resident. So we have a total of 800 residents. So the diet and food is per year is this $915, 350 for diapers. So per child or per resident, mostly this diapers is mostly also now a source of empowerment, because we have put up a case, a sort of an appeal to the Sindh government, because this is a sort of empowerment, because when someone who cannot control uh, his the bowel movement and the stool and the urine flow, so the diaper gives that person a sense of empowerment. So whether it be a senior citizen or it be a person with disabilities, a lot of people are not giving for diapers in Pakistan because. But we are trying to convince to change that mindset. And recently, our Mufti also said, like you can give any sort of donation, whether it can be in kind. So diaper is sort of a donation in kind. We give all our medications because we have a lot of cerebral palsy and also children with who require constant medicines throughout the year on a daily basis. So medication is also very essential, and also the medical treatment. And so here you have also our a main head office. We are more an institutional base, not an outreach program. So in the head office, we have 112 males and 57 females. In our senior citizens home at Kashmir at MA Jinnah Road, we have 120 residents. Another trend which I'd like to share here is a lot of people in your senior citizens, they're leaving their parents and going abroad, and a lot of people want their parents to be at a place where they're taken good care of. So they find Darul Sukoon as one of those places where their parent can be looked after. A lot of them leave them, but not many of them have not come back, not even call them for Eid, for the different. This is another location in Rashtrabad Tandwala Yar. The capacity out here is for around 650. We have 310. We are catering this center is catering to those needs of people in interior Sindh and also Punjab. So we're getting a lot of people here from interior Sindh and Punjab, and but people from Karachi are not willing to go here. Now this place here is for females. It's an orphanage. Girls from age 5 to matriculation are here with us, and after that they have to move out. So that's very small thing about Darul Sukoon. There's a lot to tell, but the impact, there are many impactful stories, but so many it's like we've been here so many years. We're trying to do the basic things, keep them safe, keep them healthy, and whatever life these children have or these residents have with us, we hope and pray that they are happy, and they can live a better life for the next few years that they are with us. Thank you.
Yeah.